Hey everybody, welcome to In Chrysalis. I have got a guest today that I am super excited about. This is my colleague Tracy. Tracy has been through a tremendous transformation using GLP-1 medications and a whole bunch of smart living. So I'm going to let her introduce herself and then we'll get into our conversation. So Tracy, welcome.
Thanks so much. I'm excited to be here. So, like you said, I'm Tracy. Do you want me to just kind of share a little bit about my journey or?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, that would
Okay.
be great.
So, I've been on a very slow journey. I started about 3.5 years ago. At my heaviest, I was 350 pounds. I've been heavy most of my adult life, and I started on GLP-1. I've slowly lost 150 pounds. And through mostly diet, just through the GLP-1, and then started slowly exercising and have gotten where I am now. I am 15 pounds away from my goal weight and getting real close there. So
That's
that's
awesome.
kind of where I'm at in a nutshell.
Okay, well, that is fantastic, and just that is such a tremendous and just transformation, and I think for those of us who've had like over 100 to lose, it's like it puts us in like this very different category
Yeah.
than someone who may have had, and this is not to diminish anyone who's had like 30 pounds or 50 pounds to lose. That's absolutely a thing. But when you have over 100 to lose, it's like it's a completely different, way of thinking, and it's a completely different, level of something that you got to tap
Yeah.
into.
I've
To
lost an entire person.
yes, exactly. Yeah, absolutely, totally. So tell me about your experience with GLP-1 medications. How did you, come to start using them, and then what has your experience been with them?
So I heard about them online, like most people, and went to my doctor and was like, hey, I've tried everything else because I've tried, Weight Watchers. Of course, everybody who grew up through the 80s and 90s, we all tried Weight Watchers. My mom was a Weight Watchers mom. Yeah. And, low carb and all that. And, nothing had worked long term. Everything works for a little while and then nothing. And so my doctor was great. She was like, absolutely, let's do it. And at the time, insurance wasn't covering it. So I had a savings card. I started on Manjaro and it worked great. Again, slowly, very slowly. I was not having the drastic weight change that most people were having, which was, of course, frustrating.
Sure.
And so I was on that for about a year or so, and then the savings card ran out, which was
Yeah,
okay.
that's
So,
a bad day for a lot of people.
yes. And so my insurance covered Wegovy. So I switched to Wegovy and I didn't lose any weight.
Hmm.
I actually gained a little bit back. It controlled I was still wasn't eating a whole lot, but just nothing changed for me. And then I was on that for probably 6 months or so, seeing no change. And then I switched to Zepbound.
Okay.
When that came out, it was like, hallelujah, something helped, and my insurance covered it. It was expensive still, but
Mhm.
um, at the time, hey, Leo, let's do it. It's the same medication as Manjaro.
Right.
Hopefully that will help. The other change that we made at the time was I looked at some of my other medications, and one of the medications that I was on was known for weight gain. So
Okay.
we were able to switch to an alternative, and the weight started falling off like everybody had talked about. And
Okay.
so from last September to now I lost 90 pounds.
Okay. That is absolutely fantastic. I know, for me, when I started on Mounjaro, I see that would have been April of 25 when I started on that. And I went on it initially because for my A1C. So I am type 2 diabetic. My A1C was 8.0, which, way above where I wanted it. And my doctor said, would you be open to trying this? And I said, sure. And she said, because you are a type 2 diabetic, the first thing that medication is going to do is to fight to get your glucose under control. And once that glucose is under control, then the weight loss starts. And I'm so glad that she told me that up front because it was almost instantly that I saw the difference in my glucose level. And the other thing I did that day was I started wearing a continuous glucose monitor, and I could see very
Wow.
clearly, what foods impacted, my glucose level. And so that little tracking device, I call it my little parole officer, so that device along with the trizepatide in the Manjaro, it just made all the difference in the world. And two, I was one of these people for a long time where it was, they say normal is like a half a pound a week to 2 pounds a week. And I had a lot of the time where I was in like the half a pound to 1 pound thing. And then I'd, wouldn't lose anything for 2 weeks. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? And then the next week I'd lose 3.
Right.
And so there's, it's like that stair step effect.
Yeah. And it's so frustrating. I always joked, if you've ever seen the movie Finding Nemo,
Yeah.
where the little fish go out and they touch the butt and then they run away.
Uh-huh.
That's how it was with me with weight loss. I would hit a new low and then I would jump back up right away. It was like
Uh-huh.
they touched the butt and ran away. And I was, oh, just stay there.
Yep.
Yeah. So I
Oh,
have to fight my
absolutely.
way back down. And
Right, right.
so
Did you find that you had some set points along the way? Because like I've been sitting at this set point now for about a month and a half of where I'm at, and those set points will make you absolutely crazy,
I
especially
did.
when you still want to lose a little bit more.
I did. It was like when I would hit a major milestone, I would just sit there, and that's where I'm at right now. So that's why I kind of waited to hit a milestone before I started really working out because I knew once I started lifting weights, the weight loss would slow down and I would get frustrated.
Yeah.
So I waited until I was under 300 pounds to start in the gym because I knew if
Okay.
I saw a slowdown, I would get frustrated and I would quit. So I needed to get to that point before I could handle it. I needed to see that progress and get it in my head that, hey, this is working
Mhm.
before I could handle a setback.
Well, and I
And
think it's good that you knew that about yourself.
yes.
I think, yeah, that it's really important to know what you're ready for and what you are not ready for.
Well, and I think so many times in the past it was, I'm going to change everything all at once. I'm going to change what I eat. I'm going to work out all the time. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And that just doesn't work. You
Hmm.
can't maintain everything all at once. So you have to build on it.
Yeah.
So the GLP-1 helped with the food. And with the food, I did change my water habits. So I added in water because I hated drinking water. So
Yeah.
gross.
Yeah, no, I understand. Like, for me, and in fact, this leads into my next question for you is like, what does your nutrition strategy look like? I want to touch on that hydration thing too, because like in the summertime, I can drink like a fish. I mean, I just ice water sipping all day, but I've always had problems with water first thing in the morning. I can't drink water first thing in the morning. But one of the tricks that I have learned that really helps me with getting my water in is I brush my teeth or I just do a little swish with mouthwash. And there's something about that mintiness in my mouth that makes me want to drink water.
I prioritized protein and I added a clear protein to my first water of the day.
Okay.
So that I was starting with like 30 grams of protein in the morning. And that helped me. And I have my cup. This is like I have one of these at home and one of these at work. It's the exact same cup. And it's beautiful. It's really cool. I'm gonna show it off because you take the
Is that a
straw out.
40 ouncer?
It's a 40 ouncer and I
Yep.
can throw it in my backpack and it doesn't leak.
Hmm.
And I drink 3 of those a day.
Okay, so yeah, I've got 3 of those 40 ounces right now actually in my refrigerator. And what I do with mine, because I do my two usually Premier proteins every day. It's a protein coffee.
Mhm.
So I put 2 Premiers, a bunch of ice, and then some coffee in there. And I will sip on that literally all morning. And so it's like I'm starting my day with a lot of good protein, and then I'll get, different types of protein and fibers and everything throughout the rest of the day. But I find that getting that in first thing in the morning really, really helps.
Yeah, that was, I don't know, it was probably some TikTok influencer that I saw that talked about starting your day with 30 grams of protein. And so I've tried that. I'm not always great about it, especially since I've gone up to 15 milligrams on Zepbound, because
Okay.
I struggle to get the calories in, period.
Yeah.
I'm the first few days after my shot, it's hard to get anything in. I do prioritize getting water in. As
Yeah.
long as I'm drinking, and I've talked to my doctor about it, he's like, get your water in. And again, since I'm putting the protein in the water, at least I'm getting some calories in. And
Yeah.
so, it's a lot like those of you that have had bariatric surgery,
Right.
those first few days after surgery, those first few months where it's stay hydrated. And so for
Yes.
me, those first few days after the shot is stay hydrated, get as much protein as you can.
What day do you usually take your shot?
Well, so right now, because I'm almost out of my shot, I'm stretching it to a week and a half.
Okay.
So it's either on Wednesday or Saturday. Um,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
I'm trying to make these last four shots last as long as possible. And luckily with the 15, I'm still getting the results, letting it stretch, just trying to get to my goal weight.
Yep. Oh,
That's
absolutely.
so close. And
Yeah.
that really, it's frustrating that the insurance just cut us off.
Yeah. Oh, I am so sorry to hear that. I hear that all the time from people, and oh yeah, that is a rough day, and it puts the patient in a really difficult place because I don't know too many of us who can afford to be paying, out of pocket every month for this medication, and that's yeah, that's something that I'm hoping we're going to see some change on in terms of insurance coverage. Like right now, for me as a type 2 diabetic, my Mounjaro is covered.
If I
However,
were diabetic, they would cover it. They cover my wife's at $25 a month.
yep. So yeah, that's what I pay for mine right now, as a type 2. So, and the thing is, I have so much empathy because I know so many people who are borderline diabetic, they're pre-diabetic, who could really benefit from this medication. And yeah, it's just not covered by insurance right now. So,
And none of my health issues have ever been that. My issues have always been structural. I
okay.
had two knee replacements in my 40s because I was real hard on my body. I danced. I danced from the time I was 3 all the way up through college.
Yeah.
And that's hard. And then I got fat. And so
Mm,
you can't abuse your body and then put that extra weight on and not expect it to have damage. So I had knee replacements early, and arthritis and all that because anybody who danced knows how hard that is on your body. And so
oh yeah.
those are my problems, and they just simply don't care about those things. They're like,
Hmm.
yeah, well, replace it. And that was part of my, you know, motivation in losing weight is I have had two knee replacements and they only last for so long.
Right.
And so trying to lengthen the amount of time before I'm going to have them replaced again is part of my motivation because I know I'm
Oh.
going to have them replaced again and again because
Hmm.
I did have to start this in my 40s.
Yeah.
But I
Oh
was
wow.
in my 40s on a cane.
Oh yeah, that's no place to be in your 40s.
No,
That's for sure.
no. When I tell people, yeah, I'm 48 years old, I've had two knee replacements. And the first one I was 41 or 42. I
Mhm.
mean, they look at you like you're crazy. And I'm like,
Oh
I was a
yeah.
real part of my body. I mean, I pushed it.
Right.
That was
Well,
what I wanted to do with my life.
sure, and I can see, yeah, for people who've done things like dance or they played a particular sport, and I think too, also different professions. I think of people who maybe work in construction or
Yep,
they're in the serving industry and they're, waiting tables and they're on their feet for 12 hours a day. And, people who are, work in healthcare as like registered nurses. I mean, the abuse that, gets
yes,
put on their bodies, I
absolutely.
absolutely is muscles and bones and joints and ligaments. I mean, they're all going to wear down after a certain amount of time, and then, yeah, if you've got extra weight on you for whatever reason, it's certainly not going to help.
Exactly.
Exactly.
That
Yeah.
was definitely part of my motivation is to try to avoid more spare parts. To
Yeah. Oh,
buy a
absolutely.
few aftermarket parts.
Right, right, right. So you mentioned, that you're lifting right now. So yeah, what does your exercise regimen look like?
So I love to walk. When it's nice out, especially here on campus, I will go out at lunchtime and I'll walk campus. I shoot for about 30 minutes. I have a walking pad here in my office for when it's cold,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll do 30 minutes at lunchtime, pop on ER and watch that. Um,
Oh, the old episodes from the 90s.
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
I'm doing a whole rewatch.
Oh, that's a great idea. Oh, I should do that too. I loved
Yeah.
that show.
Let me tell you, you look at George Clooney's character completely different when you're older than when you were younger. You're like,
Oh,
oh, this is a
really?
little problematic. I don't.
Okay, so I
Oh,
definitely have to go back and do
yeah,
that. So
yeah.
total like aside here. Have you watched The Pit?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's like seeing the evolution of John Carter.
Yeah.
It's really a cool thing
Love that.
to watch. I mean, Noah Wiley was just fantastic in both roles. So, I
Yeah.
just, yeah.
Yeah. I'm obsessed with the pit. Absolutely. So I walk a lot. I had a back injury this summer, so I've been kind of off that, but luckily, I just had a nerve block done on Tuesday, and
Okay.
I have zero pain in my back, knock on wood. So
Good.
I'm this week, and so I'll walk for 30 minutes on the treadmill there, and then I lift heavy. I'm about strength. I want to be Wonder Woman. I don't want to be Barbie.
All right, there you go. I love that. Yeah, strength training has been such a big thing for me. And I absolutely love it in whatever form I can get it. I do, reformer Pilates twice a week. So with that resistance training was, oh my goodness, I just fell in love with it. That's my thing now. And then just whenever I can lift in any kind of way, I love the feeling of that resistance.
Yes. Yeah, my former trainer was a world-renowned power lifter.
Okay.
So he had me, I was lifting heavy, and then I had an injury. This was a few years ago. And so that was right after one of my knee replacements. And he was helping me rehab and then get stronger. And then I had to have the other knee done. And so kind of fell out of it. So now I'm trying to get back into that and getting heavy. And so I've been researching science-backed lifting, where
Hmm.
shorter reps and heavier, and you get stronger faster. And so I think I'm going to try that when I get back in the gym this
Hmm.
and just I really focus. I just want to get strong,
Yeah.
especially being almost 50 and, going through menopause and all that, getting my bones strong is going to be very important,
Yeah. Yeah.
long term, making sure that in my 70s I can open jars and do those kinds of things.
Hmm.
I'm looking at longevity on top of being strong right now.
Yep. Oh, me too. In fact, yeah, that leads me into my next point. So when we chatted the other day, we talked about, that we've both been going through, menopause. I'm now officially through it. Yay. Not disappointed. I know some women really struggle with that. Not this girl. I'm thrilled to be through it. And, you know, it does have a dramatic impact on weight and that hormonal fluctuation during that process, and that was a big piece of why I had some of the regain that I've had in the last 5 years. Just between my husband's cancer, and then my brother-in-law lived with us for the last 6 months of his life when he was in hospice, and we had COVID in there, and just all of that stuff, and then throw on the menopause, and that was a rough 5 year stretch for me, which I've now since rectified. But so what's your experience been with that menopause process? And I know we talked about hormone replacement that we've both been utilizing, and I found it to be very beneficial. So what can you tell us about your experience with that?
So HRT was a little bit of a scary thing for me. So in 2018, I had a preventative double mastectomy.
Hmm.
They had found cells in my very first mammogram.
Oh
that
no.
going to turn into cancer. I had a 45% risk of developing breast cancer, and they consider 20% high risk. And
Oh
so
yeah.
I
Wow.
had my
Okay.
options were every 6 months going in for cancer screenings or lop them off. And I was like, nope, I'm take them. I'm done. We're good. Don't need them. And
Yeah.
so I had my first mammogram in September, and I had my mastectomy in December of that year.
Oh wow. Okay.
Everything just lined up, and I was like, okay, the universe is saying they need to go.
Yeah. Oh
And
yeah. With odds like that, you got to do something pretty dramatic. Yeah.
yeah. And so it worked out really well. And so when the time came, I was having symptoms. My blood work showed, oh, they're like, oh, you're fine. Um, and nobody would talk to me about HRT because they're like, oh, well, it's going to cause breast cancer. Well, I don't have any.
Mm.
I have a lower risk of developing any type of breast cancer than the normal woman. I have a less than 4% chance
Hmm.
now. And so I finally found an OBGYN. A shout out to Dr. Bialco at St. Luke's in St. Louis.
Uh-huh.
He is fantastic. Anybody who's listening to this from St. Louis, go see him. And he was finally the one that said, look, you have done everything in your power to reduce your risk.
Yeah.
Now you're having symptoms. Let's treat it. We'll go in as minimally as possible and see if we can get you some help. And my biggest things were I couldn't sleep. I've been an
Mm.
insomniac my whole life. I had finally gotten to a point that I was sleeping and then it just stopped. And it was awful. And so started on a teeny tiny dose of estrogen and progesterone.
Okay.
Normally, if you don't have a uterus, you don't need progesterone,
Mhm.
but that's what was helping me sleep.
Okay.
Because the progesterone, I guess, like protects the uterine lining, or I don't really know. I haven't had a uterus in like 15 years, so I don't I have no idea. And so that helped. And then actually just last month, they took both my ovaries. And so I am now in surgical menopause.
Okay.
And so we just increased my dosage of estrogen a tiny bit because again, we're, slowly as minimally as possible because of that risk. If there is any breast tissue left, not that we think there is, but I still want to reduce that risk as much as possible, knowing that I had that risk. So it's helping, hopefully.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, I know. When I went to see my OBGYN, that was, one of the things that I definitely wanted to talk about was the HRT because, I knew that I was now fully, postmenopausal and it was having just some, unpleasant side effects. And she said, okay, so let's start on this. She said this is where she usually starts, is with the estrogen cream. And so, yeah, that definitely has helped. And now I'm going to be going in to see her again and seeing, what other options I have to, address some of the other things that, are just, can I live with it? Yeah. Do I want to? No. So if,
I think
there's
that
something that's
men
going to
had,
help with some of these other things, then, I'm willing to give it a shot.
if men had to deal with the symptoms that we had to deal with, they'd have a freaking pill out already. And
Yeah,
you know it.
there's a whole lot of truth to that statement. Yes.
But they simply don't research women's issues.
Yeah.
Our moms, they didn't talk about it.
No, they did not. Our grandmothers certainly did not.
No.
Yeah.
I found out my poor grandmother bled until she was 55.
Oh my goodness.
Poor woman.
Oh wow. Poor thing.
Yeah, on my
Oh,
dad's side.
breaks your heart to hear that.
But on my mom's side, they all had hysterectomies really early. They all had issues. Lots of cervical cancer in that history. So obviously that terrifies me. And then my
Yeah.
risk of ovarian cancer and breast cancer, I'm like, take out everything that you could take out. Like, get rid of it. And so, it's hard. Like my mom doesn't know really when she went through menopause because they took all of her stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's hard for her to really know. And then my grandma on her side died very early, so we don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, but they didn't talk about it. You just dealt with it. And I
Yep.
think really important that Gen X, we are talking about it and saying,
And I am
no,
so glad that we are. And we're going to
we're
be able
not
to
gonna put up
help.
with it.
Yeah, we're going to be able to help the millennial women and the Gen Z women and just like, okay, yeah, this is what you need to be aware of. This is what you need to do. Talk to your doctor about this,
Yeah.
And I think, we're able to give such, much better advice. And I
Mhm.
think now too, having access, and this, granted, the internet is a double-edged sword, I mean, there's some really great quality information out there, and then there's a bunch of garbage. And so I think being able to differentiate between the two and get some really sound medical advice, I think is just so incredibly valuable for everybody at every stage of life.
Yeah, just, to discuss like, is this normal?
Yeah,
I don't know how much you're on TikTok, but
I
there's the
have
woman,
never
the
even had a TikTok account.
girl, we gotta
I
talk.
know people look at me like I've got three heads when I say that, but it's the truth.
But there's a woman that kind of started a movement of the We Do Not Care Club, and it's the perimenopausal and menopausal women of
Mhm.
like, we don't care anymore.
I have seen several of her reels and I love those.
Yeah, and it's like, just we don't care. And to
Uh-huh.
talk about those experiences of the rage and that you're like, why am I so angry?
Yeah.
And that's, and why do I feel this? Why am I crying? Like, what is going on with my body?
Hmm.
And not having, a doctor tell you, oh, you're fine. It's all in your head. It's not all in your head. It's all in your hormones.
Oh, absolutely. That is for sure. So I know one of the things that, we have both found since going through significant, weight losses that, it's kind of helped us tap into like this new confidence. And so I'm curious, how has this weight loss impacted like your personal style and how you like to view yourself and present yourself?
Oh, it's been huge. So the beginning of this last semester, I had to buy a whole new wardrobe for work. Nothing fit. And I made a commitment to myself that I was only going to buy things I loved. Like,
Yes, I did the same thing. Yes.
because I'm a big thrift shopper. I love a bargain. I love Goodwill. The cheaper the better. And for so long, it was like there, when you're a size 26, there's only so many things there. And it's like, okay, well, it fits. It'll be fine. At least I have something to put on my body.
Yeah.
Well, now I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
And so I only buy things if I love them and they fit my aesthetic. And I finally leaned into what I really love. And I've always loved, kind of the goth aesthetic, the I call it my office goth, the skulls and black and mixed kind of with like the 50s housewife. I love a big skirt and
Uh-huh.
I that's how I dress every day. 90% of my wardrobe is black or has a skull on it. I've got my skull shirt on today.
I love that skull shirt, by the way. That is awesome.
I love it. It's one of my favorites. And so it's been very free for me. And I think part of it is the weight loss and the confidence, and part of it is my age of the We Do Not Care Club.
Right? Yeah.
You know, and obviously my hair and everything that's been going on for a while.
Mhm.
Of just embracing who I really am as a person. And if you don't like it, I don't really care
No, I think
anymore.
you've got a great look. It's like, there's the drama to it, there's the femininity to it, there's the gothiness to it. I mean, it's you. It suits you really well.
It's definitely, a curated look of what I'm comfortable with and what I like. But it's still definitely not the ideal version of femininity and female attractiveness. It's
Hmm.
definitely not for the male gaze.
Hmm.
And then that's my preferred.
Yeah.
Um, I dress for me. I dress for what I like,
Hmm.
and it makes
I
me
I
feel like
love
a badass
that.
bitch.
Oh yeah, I absolutely love that. And I know what you mean too, because like I was a size 26 at my highest. And now I'm kind of in like the 14, 16 range, depending on, the garment and the manufacturer and everything. And so, yeah, I mean, I can go into, for the first time in my adult life, I can go into any store and find exactly what I am looking for, and I can find a variety of things that fit me. And, I always had a very specific, aesthetic that I was attracted to, but that just did not work with the physical shape that I had. And so now to be in a place where I can really merge those things, it's been a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to, continuing to evolve there and explore that aspect of myself that honestly, I just don't think I ever really let myself even envision because
Right.
it's like, well, what's the point? I'm never going to be able to do that. And now it's like, oh, wait a minute. Yes, I can.
Well, and when I was younger, I didn't have the balls to.
Well, that too. Yeah.
Well, and even, if I think back, even when I was in high school, I never fit the mold.
Oh,
I
yeah,
went
me
to a
either.
very preppy, rich high school, and I wore boots and jeans and big belt buckles, and I country danced. I was one
Uh-huh.
of three of us that
Uh-huh.
did that. So I've never really fit the mold anyway.
Right.
Um, so I guess this really isn't all that different. It's just what mold am I not fitting now?
Mm-hmm.
So,
hmm No, I think that's absolutely awesome. And, if that's something that I think I would tell, and this leads into my final point that I had to discuss with you today. And that if you had this process to do again, what, if anything, would you do differently? And the first thing that I think of is, yeah, there's the work side of this, but what we were just talking about, there's the fun side of this
oh
too.
yeah.
And it's this real like process of discovery. So yeah, what are your comments to that?
Definitely, try stuff on,
Yeah.
see what works, figure out who you really are.
hmm
I think it is a self-discovery,
Yeah,
of figuring out who you are underneath all of that. Because so much of our identity when we're bigger becomes about being bigger. And that's
absolutely.
because society tells us that that's the only thing that you are. We become invisible.
Yeah.
Not, especially when we are older women, we're supposed to be invisible, and then add fat on top of it, and we're supposed to sit down and shut up.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
neither one of us, I don't think, is very good at that, period.
I'm terrible at that.
And I went through a period where that's what I did. I was having a period of grief. My wife's dad and my dad died within 6 months and 3 days of each other.
That's tough.
And
Yeah.
and then, we were not in a good place. And then I started losing weight, and that all of that was a healing process for me. And then figuring out who the hell am I?
Yeah.
And and I've, really come back out of my shell and found my voice again and been able to, both personally and professionally. My the people that I surround myself with are very different, and
hmm
I'm still trying to figure out, what do I like to do? I've gotten back into dancing again because
Oh,
I
that's
physically
great.
can. I mean, yeah, I just, now that my back is fixed, I'm going back to line dance class and I can't wait. I'm so
Oh,
excited.
awesome. Good for you.
Oh my God. Yeah, I spent, this summer I was going 2 nights a week to dance class, and then I decided that I was going to try to bounce, and I don't bounce at 48 years old.
Oh, yeah, I haven't done that in a long time.
Yeah, we don't do
Not
that anymore.
intentionally anyway.
That was bad. Hey, don't do that. Um, you'll pay for it for months.
Oh, I'm
And
sure I will.
and so yeah, you got to figure out who you are, and even if you're at the start of the journey, even if you decide not to take the journey, you're more than your weight.
Definitely.
You're more, fuck the people who say that you're just a fat chick.
hmm Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I think one of the things for me having, been overweight literally since before kindergarten, it's like it didn't matter how talented I was or how smart I was or how, friendly and warm I was, that my weight was the only thing that most people noticed about me, nor, and also that was the only thing that they cared
Mhm.
to notice about me.
Yeah.
And that at that young age, that becomes a big part of how I was enculturated. And I know I speak for, pretty much anybody who had that lived experience. It becomes a big part of your identity. And so now at 52, to be at the same size and weight that I was at in middle school, it's very, very different looking, at the world through this lens. And fortunately, I have a wonderful psychologist who has been a big help along the way. And so I continue to tap into her skills, and I'm very grateful for them because that has helped a lot with unraveling that big ball of yarn.
Well, I think it's important too that those of us now that do reflect that, ideal weight or whatever, to use that privilege to stand up for those that are being ignored,
For sure.
for their weight, to give voice to those people and say, like, no, like, come into the circle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. You are welcome into the fold. And, for those of us who have, who've been there, let us be the crones, let us be the matriarchs, let us
Yeah.
teach you our ways.
And it's not to say that, hey, you need to lose weight. It's you're okay exactly the way that you are.
Yeah,
For me, I had to lose weight for my health.
same.
You don't have to lose weight to be you. I want you to have a voice as you are. And if you choose to lose weight, I will support you no matter what you want to do.
Hmm.
But I want you to have a voice. And I think, especially those of us that do teach communication and are communicators, that's doubly important for us to use our privilege in that way.
Hmm. Oh, that is a beautiful way to put it, and that is a beautiful note to end on. So, Tracy, thank you so much for joining us today. I have really enjoyed our conversation, and I get to see you in a couple of months up in Minneapolis.
Yay.
Yay. Okay. So, yeah, go ahead.
I said, thanks so much for having me.
Oh, absolutely. My pleasure. And so, thank you everyone for watching today. Please leave us a comment, and I will see you very soon. All right. Thank you so much for joining us.